Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday. I'm your host, Lauren Meisner, the founder of the youth digital media brand, Centennial World. Ooh, I said that a little bit, high-pitched. Welcome back to Mini Scroll, everyone. Oh my God. Okay, we need to get right into the stories because the first story that I have for you guys, it's like 5 pages long in my notes, and I spent all morning on Google Translate because I'm going to be sharing with you the full tea about Chiara Ferragni speaking out about her ex-husband Fedez and everything that has unfolded from that. So this is incredibly deeply millennial of me, but I need to talk about this. I have been obsessed with Chiara for like over a decade. She was one of the first Instagram influencers that I ever followed, along with Peace Love Shay, Alexandra Pereira, I think is how you say it, Pereira, probably. Those girlies were like my OG Instagram influencers. And I was actually trying to think when I was writing notes for this, I was like, how did you even find Instagram influencers back then? Because there was no explore page. There was no discovery tool at all. I have no idea how I found Instagram influencers. But actually, Peace Love Shay, who now goes, I think, by Shay Marie, she was the first person that I ever heard refer to herself as an influencer. I had never even heard that word before in terms of like a job title. And I remember somebody asked her in like a Q&A, what's your job? What do you do for a living? And she said, my job is technically being a quote unquote influencer. And I remember being like, oh my God. And then she explained like what that meant. And she's like, I work with brands and whatever on Instagram, things like that. And I was like, oh my God, I had never heard that word before. So she's the first one. Those three I've been obsessed with forever. But Chiara, I feel like, has just been very like normal and not normal. Like she's incredibly wealthy and incredibly successful and her life is not normal, but the way that she interacts online feels very normal. I think a lot of the OG influencers either stay kind of stuck in that like over curated vibe, or they really pull back because they kind of did the fame thing, the influencer thing, and now they're focused on a business, or I don't know. And they are kind of burned by early internet fame because, as we know, early internet fame, I actually think is probably for women more toxic than like current internet fame. But yes, Chiara has done the opposite. Like she posts 24/7, like whatever is going on in her life. Her content is not overly curated. She just seems very, like she uses Instagram as if it's like her personal Instagram, and I really like it. Anyways, okay. For anyone who doesn't know, Chiara is one of the OG fashion bloggers. She had a blog called The Blonde Salad, which also turned into a clothing and accessories line. She's Italian. She lives in Milan, and she has nearly 30 million Instagram followers. Chiara lived in LA for a few years while she dated this American photographer, but she seemed to permanently relocate back to Italy after they split, and she started dating Fedez, who is an Italian rapper. I guess at the time, Fedez was a lot more famous than Chiara. I saw an Italian creator explaining that Chiara wasn't really respected in Italy despite being like so internet famous and so successful. I guess just because the career of influencing for many years was not really considered like a reputable career, and getting with Fedez actually helped her build that credibility in Italy. So they met in 2016, they got married in 2018, and their wedding was absolutely insane. It was like a multi-day event. It had a hashtag, I think it was called the Ferragnes. I think that's what they called themselves. And the wedding cost an estimated 1.3 million Australian dollars. Dollars. They had 2 children together, a son and a daughter. I think they had their son before they got married, and he was like part of their wedding. So their marriage, if you guys have followed them closely, looked so passionate. Like that's actually the way that I would describe it. They seemed so in love. They seemed like they just had this insane chemistry. It seemed really exciting. Like they just seemed like perfect for each other. They also had a reality show at one point, and Fedez also had some serious health problems around 2022, which they documented on social media. And again, they just seemed like so in love and so obsessed with each other and just so passionate. At the start of 2024, rumors started swirling that they had split. Fedez confirmed that they broke up around April 2024, and everyone, again, was like, what the fuck? Because they seemed so perfect. So the way that the narrative played out initially was that she kicked him out and she was kind of vilified as like the one who left their marriage. This narrative was pushed even harder amid Chiara's cake charity scandal in December 2023, which people now refer to as Pandorogate. So Chiara was dealing with Pandorogate. So from like December 2023 into like mid 2024, I think she's honestly still kind of dealing with it. So yes, when people started thinking, oh, maybe they're broken up, and then Fedez confirmed in April. So this was all like while this scandal was going on and being reported on. So this is what the scandal was, just like very high level for you guys. In 2022, Chiara did a partnership with Balacco, whom I have no idea if I said that right. I probably did not. They make those Italian Christmas cakes similar to panettone. She designed a limited edition pink Pandoro cake, and these cakes were marketed as a charitable venture, saying that the proceeds would go to a children's hospital in Italy. It was later revealed that the cake proceeds and the donation made to the hospital did not add up, so the partnership was basically investigated. Chiara lost a ton of brand deals and followers off the back of this scandal, and ultimately she was fined 1.8 million Australian dollars for false advertising. I want to make a note here that it was really never confirmed or denied if Chiara understood what was happening here. She was fined because she was the face of it. You know, it was her platform, her followers. I assume this is why she was fined. But, you know, it was not like, it didn't come out that she was like intentionally keeping this money or she knew that this money was not going to the hospital. What I'm thinking happened, and maybe this is just because I love her, but I'm going to believe what happened was what happens honestly when a lot of influencers kind of get in bed with like shady partnerships is the brand or the agency or whoever behind it is just skimming too much off the top, or they're not following through on their promises. And the influencer really is like the face of that. And at the end of the day, like it's going to fall on the influencer because like they are the face of it, right? Like it's their name, it's their followers, it's their reputation that's being put on the line there. And so I think that's what happened here. I'm going to get into this again in a minute because she does address it like in everything recently that's been happening. But okay. So while this was coming out, while the cake situation was happening, Fedez told the press this scandal was the final nail in the coffin for his relationship with Chiara. So kind of painting her as a villain, as if she was like intentionally scamming her followers. And that is a very shady thing for someone who was in a 6-year marriage or relationship with this person to do. There were whispers on Italian Reddit and TikTok for the past year that this narrative wasn't all that it seemed, but she had never really clarified anything. The one thing that had changed, I mean, obviously, aside from like they got a divorce, so he wasn't in her content anymore, is that she was no longer posting her children. Like she would post only, like she wouldn't post their faces. She would maybe post a picture and their hands would be in it or like the back of their head or whatever. So people were like, okay, that's interesting. This must be like a custody situation. 2 days ago, a former Italian paparazzi named Fabrizio Corona, who was also friends with Fedez, dropped a bombshell expose on his YouTube channel, basically claiming that Fedez had a 6-year affair with a 26-year-old woman, who I guess was like 20 when they started dating because she's 26 now. This is from an Italian website called Il Messaggio. Quote, according to Corona, in the singer's heart, there has always been another woman, and he has suffered for her. The woman in question is named Angelica Montini. Blonde and Milanese, she would have been part of Fedez's life, even during the marriage with Chiara Ferragni. The influencer supposedly discovered it by chance after the separation. The rapper accidentally revealed it during a phone call. He thought he was talking to me, but he was talking to Chiara. At one point, he realized that Ferragni had hung up and found a message saying, "You're a jerk." Like I said at the very beginning of this story, I have been deep in the weeds of Google Translate, of trying to piece this all together. I do want to say, I believe I have the true story, but definitely there could be some like timeline mess ups or some like mistranslations here and things like that. But I saw people saying that like this was the narrative, that, you know, he was like all fucked up and thought he was talking to his girlfriend, Angelica, but he was actually talking to Chiara when he admitted that he'd been having this affair, which is why this says he thought he was talking to me, as in Angelica, I guess, is saying this, but he was talking to Chiara. So Chiara and Fedez reached a divorce agreement in November 2024. And Corona says that on December 18th, 2024, Angelica broke up with Fedez, again, after like 6 or 7 years of dating and being his mistress. And if my timeline is correct, it was after this that Fedez told Chiara that he considered leaving her at the altar for Angelica. He apparently was on the phone with Angelica 10 minutes before his wedding to Chiara started and told her that all she had to do was say the word and he would not go through with it. And people online basically just assume that he told Chiara this, even though they were already broken up, to kind of just like as a power move, right? Like to rub salt in the wound. He was like really hurt that Angelica dumped him. He was heartbroken and he was basically crashing out. So in Corona's video, I guess he implied that Chiara and Fedez were in an open relationship and she was okay with this affair or like knew about it or something like that. But now, after almost complete silence on her divorce this whole time, Chiara has made a statement on Instagram basically saying it was not an open relationship and sharing her side of the story. And I completely get why she wanted to clarify this. Like, I can't even tell you guys, the videos that are produced on this man's YouTube channel are like documentaries. It is actually like one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So these are the Instagram stories translated. I have chosen to remain silent in these months to protect myself and my family in two matters that have deeply marked me. On the one hand, the professional one, for which I will do everything in my power to substantiate my arguments and prove my innocence. So that's what she's saying about the cake gate. So she is going to pay the fine, I guess, but she's just saying like, I'm going to continually work to prove that like I did not scam my followers. Like I did not know that this was happening. And on the other hand, the private one, for which I will no longer remain silent. I lived 7 years in a relationship in which I loved the way I love, without inhibitions and with my whole being. I loved even when there were many reasons to give up. I endured situations in which I would have told any friend, don't let anyone do this. Because for me, love was also to sacrifice, to constantly minimize the lack of respect and justify wrong behaviors to protect the other party, to protect the family, to protect the couple. Because I've always considered myself the strong one, the independent one, the one who should fight for everyone. So I didn't say anything, even when I was being abandoned from one day to the next during my first period of difficulty last February, when I could barely get out of bed. I assume this is what she's referring to, the cake gate situation, because like I said, it was like December 2023 when stuff started like circulating. And then I assume, obviously, February 2024. So like within the next couple months is probably when she was being investigated and maybe when she was fined. I'm not sure the exact timeline on that. I heard many times that I kicked him out of the house, but it was never said that I kicked him out of the house after discovering a betrayal in those days. One of many, of course. And it was never said that he didn't hesitate to take advantage of the moment as not to be tarnished by damaging my image. So again, taking advantage of the moment as in cake gate. So he took advantage of saying that was the final nail in the coffin, like being public about that and using that as like his excuse, because he actually told the press around the same time that he said the cake situation was the final nail in the coffin, he also told the press there was no infidelity. I didn't say anything publicly in the months that followed, not even after I discovered that everything was happening behind my back as I tried to get him out of all of his dark moments without knowing anything. I didn't say anything publicly when a few days before Christmas 2024, Federico called me, as in Fedez, knowing full well he was talking to me and admitted for the first time that the story with his girlfriend had been going on, the affair with his girlfriend had been going on since 2017 and that he had thought about not getting married a few days before the wedding, but then he didn't know how to back out of the public eye. So she is saying she knows that he knew he was talking to her and not to Angelica on that phone call. Details like the phone call to her just before he went down the aisle, telling her that one affirmation from her would be enough to leave everything behind, or remembering her messages in the hospital bed while I was there, shaking her hand and praying that the evil would come to me instead of him so that I wouldn't see him suffer, are very painful. So this is what she's referring to, his really bad health problems in 2022. I have remained silent on many topics and slander to continue pretending as if nothing had happened. My relationship with Federico was real to me. I have never been in an open relationship. It was obviously open only to the other party without me knowing. And despite all that, I am proud to have loved unconditionally. I am sorry that for the other party, I have been a person to be mocked and used as desired. But sometimes it is good to open your eyes, understand the consequences, suffer, stand up, and understand you deserve something different. A love that may not be perfect, but at least true and experienced equally by both parties. I wish it for myself. Now, Corona, the psycho man, has responded with his own Instagram story saying, again, Google Translate here, "You have been silent all these years, not because you wanted to turn the page and not to dwell on the pain, not because you have 2 children who will hear everything. For a year now, the only thing you've asked Federico is to be able to show the children. You who are never with the children, only overpaid babysitters." Again, right? This is what I was talking about, how she stopped showing her kids on Instagram. Your ex-husband didn't decide at the table with his friend. You forget, dear Chiara, who I am and what I do. Oh my God, this is threatening. My name is Fabrizio Corona, and Federico let himself go, but I loved him and I love him. I made a choice in my life to do this job and no one can stop me. Just like no one will stop me from sending the 3rd part of this story. I will tell the perfect little wife that you are how much bullshit you have been telling for 15 years. All the details of your little circle, your dirty business, and the real love that you have lived by constantly betraying him. Let's start with someone who sings at Sanremo this year, Achille Lauro. Do you remember when you admitted to Fedez that you fucked him? Okay, so this Corona man, who, like I said, was paparazzi, friends with Fedez, and then for some reason released this crazy documentary that exposed that Fedez was having this affair with Angelica, now is also accusing Chiara of being an absent mother, betraying Fedez as well, and sleeping with this man, Achille Lauro. What? No, like, this is actually the plot of a movie. This is truly crazy. I feel so bad for Chiara. I have no idea why this paparazzi man, is he still friends with Fedez? If you guys know more about, his relationship with Fedez, can you let me know? Because why would he be like in this Instagram story, it sounds like he's standing up for Fedez, but then he released this documentary, which basically put him on blast and showed that he had this affair for 6 years. I don't understand what's going on, but that is from start to finish, basically the synopsis of everything that is currently happening online on Instagram stories, on YouTube with Chiara, Fedez, and this random man, Corona. The next story that I have for you guys is I am going to break down Mikaela Testa's allegations against Anna Paul. So Mikaela Testa has published a wild TikTok video filled with allegations against Anna Paul. She has accused Anna Paul of being a fraud, running an illegal lottery system, and she also accused Anna's brother, Addis, of abuse. So, for background, Anna is one of Australia's most popular TikTok creators with 7 million followers. She's 25 years old and is also a very popular OnlyFans model. For anyone that does not follow Anna, I know we have a lot of US listeners as well. She is literally the darling of Australian TikTok. She is body positive. She's happy, silly, goofy. She vlogs literally every single day of her life. And despite being an OnlyFans model, her audience seems to be largely young women, and that's why, she launched a skincare line, and it's very juvenile is not the right word, but it's very youthful, and it's definitely targeted towards young women. And I assume they would only do that knowing that her audience is largely young women. I just think the way that she brands herself on social media feels very different to the fact that she is an OnlyFans model. Mikaela is also a creator / OnlyFans model and has been friends with Anna since they were 15. Mikaela dated Anna's brother Addis from 2019 to 2022. So recently, Mikaela posted on Instagram stories calling out an unnamed influencer for hosting online giveaways that she felt fall under basically like a lottery system. Many fans speculated that this was Anna, but then Mikaela came out and made this TikTok, so everyone's like, okay, this is surely had to be about Anna. The video is almost 9 minutes long, so that's obviously quite long for TikTok. So let me go through the allegations for you. The first one is that Anna basically doesn't care about her fans. Mikaela gave an example of a time when Anna was approached by a plus-size fan in public once, and they took a photo. Anna told the girl she loved her and hugged her, and then when she walked away, she told Addis that she was annoying and gross, and she didn't want to hug the fan because she was, quote, fat and sweaty. You don't know her like I know her, Mikaela said. You have never met her, and if you have, it's nothing more than a 5-second selfie. These people who watch her don't know the Anna that I know. They know the other Anna, the one she wears when the camera starts rolling. Everything Anna does is calculated, but she masks the manipulation extremely well with an innocent, sweet girl facade, posting all of these videos about self-love and body positivity. Okay, so one of Anna's things is that she gives away a lot of money and does a lot of like giveaways for her followers, and essentially, Mikaela claims that Anna's money giveaways are all for clout, they're performative. And I don't know, I'm not surprised by this. I think if you are constantly giving away gifts and money and prizes on social media, it's because you want the engagement, you want the views, you want the clout, you want the praise. It's giving Mr. Beast and David Dobrik. Mikaela also claims that Anna's fan base is predominantly underage, and some of her giveaways include subscribing to her OnlyFans to enter, therefore making it allegedly like an illegal lottery since you basically have to pay to enter these giveaways. I'm not familiar with these. I actually don't really follow Anna. Like, obviously, I'm familiar with her, but I'm not totally sure if that's accurate, if that's true. But yeah, she's basically saying her OnlyFans costs $16 a month. So if you're paying her $16 to then enter this giveaway, that basically is like a lottery system as opposed to just doing like a giveaway where it's free to enter. She claims Anna lies about her upbringing. Quote, their dad made triple the average Australian income per week, had them living in a beautiful house on the water with a built-in pool. I've seen the house in person. It's beautiful. Being upper middle class is not being poor. Anna, your exaggerated stories for the internet have always made your dad upset and me, well, just angry. I was a real victim of the system and poverty like you portrayed yourself online. Remember that time when he called you out in the living room, as in her dad? He didn't understand why you would post such things and he called them lies. But you need the story faking your poverty so people excuse your schemes and wealth and feel bad for you. Every calculated story serving such an important role, this web you weave to entrap these people's pity. And then she detailed some alleged abuse that she faced at the hands of Addis. She said she was a victim of financial abuse. And she also claimed that Addis sexually assaulted his former girlfriend and said that she believes it. But yeah, I will keep you guys posted if Anna, from when I'm recording, she has not responded. So I'll keep you guys posted on how this goes. If anyone else like really notable speaks out or addresses this, I will include it in next week's mini. And then the last quick little story that I wanted to share. So there's this new blind item. So grain of salt, but there's this new blind item going around that Brooke Schofield is possibly getting pushed out of the canceled podcast by Tana. I know that this rumor has been going around for a while, but then I saw people talking about how it feels like it makes sense because Not Loveline, which is the podcast with Trisha and Tana, has stopped being so heavily focused on like viewer call-ins and like love stories, dating stories, but it's a lot of like pop culture now, I guess. I don't know. I actually haven't been listening, so I don't know if that's true. If you guys have listened, let me know, comment down below. But yes, apparently they have been veering into the pop culture territory. And in the first episode, I did watch this part. In the first episode, Tana and Trisha both talked about how they didn't want to talk about pop culture and things that would kind of like impede on their existing podcast vibe, right? So Trish on Just Trish, she talks about the hot topics, which is like pop culture, internet culture. And then obviously Tana and Brooke talk a lot about pop culture, internet culture. So yes, I think that could be a sign. It could also just be like what they know, filling time, all that kind of stuff. I know that the canceled followers and fans haven't been very happy because I guess like the upload schedule has been really inconsistent since Brooke's like quote unquote cancellation. And Brooke was saying on TikTok that she can't control it because she doesn't do the uploading like Tana does. And everybody was like, well, is Tana not like your co-host and your best friend? Like, can't you just like text her and be like, hey, where's the episode? Can you upload it? So yeah, I think people feel like something's going on there between them. Brooke has, I would say, struggled to recover reputation-wise from everything that happened last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if it just feels like a bad business decision to keep the podcast going with her. It was Tana's podcast to begin with, but yes, again, just a blind item. All right, guys, well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to Mini Scroll. I love you guys. Please rate, review, and subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please Apple review us, Spotify star rate us, subscribe to us on YouTube, all of that stuff. I love you guys. There will be a deep dive tomorrow, and then I will talk to you on Monday. Bye.